I cut out some more metal of this firewall here on the side. I cut out the junk pieces and I got this new piece tacked in. So next, I gotta fill this in, but first, I think I'm gonna take my attention to behind the cup holder. Now, when I do this floor in the back, I'm probably just gonna go from the top of this tube or the middle of this tube and just go straight back and fill it in, but that can wait a second. But first, I gotta look at this. I don't want this just to jar out and then cut off like this. So I got this mark, I literally just did it a second ago. I think I'm just gonna shave it down on an angle like here and just meet to the top of this piece here. Cut it on both sides and just put a flat plate going down on an angle. And the more space back here I get, the better. This is where I plan to put all the wiring and most of the harness, ECU, stuff like that. Maybe the battery could fit back there. But I think just shaving it off like this angle and smoothing it out, I think that'll look pretty good. And the seats are very tight against this, so just having less of this will be better. So yeah, I'll get these chopped off and we'll make a filler plate from here to the bottom. And I'll use the appropriate 16 gauge, even though it's 12 gauge on top, 16 on the side. I'll just do another 16 on top on the side. Oh, well, this flat piece here, and it should be good. And then maybe I'll get back to this section. This section I'm like dreading, you know. The hard part I think is done because I got this step piece in. It's more or less just filling this in and then doing a plate like this to cover up the rest. But it's like weird bends and angles and it ain't gonna be fun, it ain't gonna be pretty, but it should be effective. Oh, that ain't so bad. Looks all right. All right, so I found a piece of metal over my stash pile and I'm just gonna mark it up. It's a pretty simple, just a rectangle. Nothing crazy. I don't think I really need cardboard for this one. I can just kind of mark it out here. And then we'll get it cut. Got my 2 marks, and I'll just cut it right there, and then we'll dry fit it again, and I'll have to shave the side a little bit. Gotta say, this particular part of the car is not my favorite at all. It's such a tiny spot, and there's all types of weird quirky turns and cutouts and everything, and the cardboard templates take longer to make than the actual metal and welded in themselves. But we are getting there. I got my piece cut. Now I made sure I did cut on the inside, and let's see how this thing fits. All right, be all right. Most likely you would want to put like little leading edges on the bottom of this plate rather than just weld it right to the top and bottom and whatnot. That's all I'm gonna do. I think it'll be fine. But normally you would want to extend the piece so it actually travels underneath and do your rosette welds. But I'm just gonna weld just the seam. I'll take it slow in order to try to keep the warp at bay. This is a hard piece to fit right here. Tricky, but I think welded on the top and the bottom and lineage back smooth, grind it back smooth, I think it'll be all right. Let me get this one tacked in. Nearly done with this side. I still have to finish welding in this back piece back here. I just gotta bump it out smoothly. But it does clear the brake and the clutch ever so slightly. Gets real close, but it doesn't hit, so I think we're good. So I'll pull this back out and I just gotta bang it out a little bit, flush it up and weld it. We'll be looking pretty good. Actually, I'm gonna leave this in while I weld it because when I bang on this and tack weld it, there's a small chance that this could flex in a little bit, and I still want my bolt holes to line up because this bracket's on 2 different locations banging this could close it up and make these not fit anymore. So I'm gonna leave this actually in while I do this, at least on the back side. All right, so I'm at a point where I want to start thinking about flipping the car on its side or upside down so I can weld all underneath the tunnel and get it all final welded underneath. That way I can grind back all the welds on the inside and make it look nice and flush. But I definitely want to weld underneath first. And the only way to do that is to get the motor out, trans out, and some of their front components. So I'm going to start with that. Ran into a little snag here getting the motor out, and I completely forgot when I had the motor in this whole time. I completely welded the front subframe into the car, and where my steering rack bolts up to is this crossbar right here, which goes from this side all the way to the other side. And lifting, I'd have to kind of lift the motor up and over it because it sits high in a spot between the transmission and the block of the motor, and it doesn't follow anything. So trying to pull the motor straight out, it follows it. So I could get the motor out with another hand here for sure. That's probably what I'll do tomorrow. But I need to find a way to chop this on both sides and make this part removable. Maybe I can put a super thick piece of steel on this side and the bottom side and run some nuts and bolts through the top, and the bottom just tighten up real tight. And you know, then I could slice this and have those two mounting holes to line it back up, and I need to put it back in. It's nearly impossible by myself, and that's like one thing I don't want. I want to be able to do this all by myself. So it's the next day, and I managed to get another jack and an extra hand for help. This motor's coming out in just a wee bit. after fiddling, maybe for 5 minutes, I cannot get this motor out myself, and the little hand just isn't enough hand to get this motor out. So what do we gotta do here? I gotta cut this bracket out down here before this motor can come out. And I already made my 4 shims here, plates, whatever you want to call them. They're 1/4 inch thick. I hear bigger than the 6 mil. US like I'm a little bit bigger, I suppose. Anyways, I'm thinking I'm gonna cut it right here, right on this line, and the same on the other side. Now I can weld this plate in on just this side and still through bolt it, a nut and bolt through here and a nut and bolt through here, just to line it back up. But before I do that, I think I'm gonna put the cross member back from here to the other side, just to keep it from tweaking after I cut it. Because I know once after I cut it, it's gonna want to shift a little bit. Not much, but enough to where it could throw some things out of whack. So this is where I gotta be very careful. So I'm trying to plan out how I'm gonna do this first. All right, so we have a nice dry mock-up here. They're just finger tight. And this is kind of what I'm looking at here. So I'd have to do my slice right here, somewhere in the pipe. Now, it would have been probably a better idea to go through the face of this, because I guess in theory, this could still have like it could bend a little bit over time. The only problem is if I did that, I had to do it this way for a reason. If I went through the front face of here, underneath the car, the steering rack goes through the floor right there. So if I went through the front of it, the bolts would be hitting it. So on this side, I had to go like this. But it's a 1/4 inch plate, 6 mil, a little bit here bigger than 6 mil. Maybe the other side I can go through the front, but that's kind of what it's looking like. And of course, I'm gonna weld whatever side doesn't move. I can just weld fully to the square pipe, if that makes sense. All right, I got some of this stuff welded, and I'm gonna start grinding down some of this stuff. I got this whole edge welded. I got this whole inside welded. I'm gonna actually leave that weld. I welded these fully to the front, like the bars fully to the front subframe. So I took out the bolt, filled it up, gooped it all in here. That's a real good one right down there. But these ones are gonna get grind down smooth, so I didn't go nuts trying to make them look pretty, because I know they're just gonna be grinded down anyways. Same thing on this side, fully welded in there, behind the pipe, back there, another one of those fancy welds down there that I'm not grinding down. And yeah, I did a little couple spots here, the inside here to get flushed back. right here, down in here. And then I made these captive and welded the bottom one here. This one's welded. These nuts are just captive. This is a removable plate here. Same thing on this side, only half of it's welded. Captive nuts and through bolts. And it levels it out pretty good. So I did one like up and down, and the other one through bolt. This one's not gonna interfere with the steering rack. However, the other one will, so that's why I went up and down, like I said before.